Did you know there's a country where $500 a month makes you wealthy, but the government literally prevents foreigners from taking their women? Where children are blown apart by bombs dropped 50 years ago, and men must become monks before they can touch a bride? Drop a comment right now telling me where you're watching from and what time it is, because what I'm about to reveal about this hidden paradise will make you question everything you know about Southeast Asia. Welcome to Laos, the land of 1,000,000 elephants that doesn't even have 1,000 left. And if you think that's shocking, wait until you hear what happened to the 23,000 people who lived in caves for 8 years straight. Chapter 1. The $500 paradise that's hiding a dark secret. Picture this. You're sitting by the Mekong River, sipping the world's best beer for less than $1, watching the sunset paint ancient temples gold. Your rent? Under $200. Your gourmet meals? $1.50. Your monthly budget that would barely cover a weekend in New York? It makes you live like royalty here. But here's the twist that'll make your stomach drop. This landlocked paradise, squeezed between Thailand and Vietnam like a forgotten secret, was once the most bombed country in human history. Every 8 minutes, day and night, for 9 straight years. The Americans dropped more explosives on this peaceful Buddhist nation than on Germany and Japan combined during World War II. The morning mist rolls over rice terraces as monks in saffron robes walk barefoot through villages where unexploded bombs still hide in backyards like sleeping dragons. And those bombs? 80 million are still out there, waiting. Children pick up shiny metal objects thinking they're toys. Since 1975, over 20,000 people have been torn apart by these forgotten weapons of war. 57% were children. Here's the brutal truth. If the international community doesn't help clear these bombs, it'll take 800 more years. 800 years of children dying for a war they never knew existed. But wait, there's something even more disturbing about this country that the tourism boards don't want you to know. Chapter 2. The marriage ban that's tearing hearts apart. Sarah, a teacher from Canada, fell in love with Baunmi, a gentle Lao artist she met in Luang Prabang. They wanted to marry, start a family, build a life together, but the Lao government said no. The new rules are ruthless. Foreign men must live in Laos for 3 consecutive months, provide mountains of personal documents, and wait up to a year for approval. Even then, the government can reject your marriage application for any reason. Why? A young Lao woman in traditional silk walks through a morning market unaware that 35% of women her age will never marry because their government fears losing them to foreign husbands. With only 7.8 million people and human trafficking networks that have already stolen 150 women this year alone, the government is literally hoarding their women. They're treating love like a natural resource that's running out. But here's the part that'll make you question everything. This same government that restricts marriage has turned a blind eye to something that's destroying half their female population from the inside. If you're starting to realize how complex this hidden country really is, hit that subscribe button right now, because the subscribers who don't miss these deep dive investigations are the ones who truly understand how the world works. And if you're one of those people who watches content for free but never subscribes, well, at least tell me in the comments why you can't commit to hitting one simple button. Chapter 3. The Buddhist tradition that's vanishing and the violence that's replacing it. There was once a sacred ritual in Laos. Before any man could touch his bride, he had to spend 3 months as a monk. Shaved head, daily meditation, complete purification of desire and ego. If he couldn't handle the discipline, no wedding. The bride's family would cancel everything, believing the man lacked the moral strength to protect their daughter. Saffron robes flutter in temple courtyards where fewer and fewer young men now come to prove their worthiness through spiritual discipline. But as this ancient protection faded, something sinister took its place. Today, nearly 2 million Lao women, half the female population, have experienced physical or psychological violence in their lifetime. 40% have been hurt by their own husbands or partners. The most heartbreaking part? 54% of these women stay silent. They believe the violence is just part of marriage, something unavoidable, something they deserve. The government finally launched a counseling hotline in 2021, but for decades, while they were busy controlling who could marry their women,
They ignored who was destroying them from within. Yet, there's another kind of destruction happening in Laos that makes domestic violence look small by comparison. Chapter 4. The liquid gold that's killing a nation. Every morning in Vientiane, the capital, workers crack open bottles of beer Lao, voted the best beer in the world by CNN and BBC Travel. The golden liquid, brewed with German hops and local jasmine rice, tastes like paradise in a bottle. But here's the deadly irony. This liquid gold is murdering the very people who make it. Laos has the highest per capita alcohol consumption in Southeast Asia, 10.4 liters of pure alcohol per person per year, nearly double the global average. Even children under 15 are drinking at a 14% rate. Sticky rice steams in bamboo baskets while families gather around low tables, beer Lao bottles glinting in the lamplight, unaware that 55% of all deaths in their country stem from alcohol-related diseases. The result? 55% of all deaths in Laos come from heart disease, diabetes, and cancer, most linked to their beloved beer culture. The government spends 2% of their entire GDP cleaning up the mess alcohol creates, while beer revenue only contributes 1.2% to the economy. They're literally drinking themselves to death for less money than the destruction costs. But the most shocking discovery isn't about what Laos is consuming. It's about what they're hiding in their mountains and caves. Chapter 5. The underground city that housed 23,000 people. Deep in the limestone cliffs of Yang Sai, there's a secret that most tourists never learn about. For 8 years, from 1964 to 1972, 23,000 people lived entirely underground. Picture this: entire hospitals, schools, government offices, bakeries, and grocery stores, all carved into cave systems. People who only emerged at night to tend their fields, living like human moles while American bombers prowled the skies above. Flickering candles illuminate ancient cave walls where revolutionary fighters planned their resistance, while families huddled in darkness, raising children who had never seen sunlight. The Pathet Lao communist forces turned these caves into an underground nation. They held captured American soldiers here. They ran a shadow government from these stone corridors. For nearly a decade, an entire city existed in complete darkness. Today, you can walk through these caves, touch the walls where desperate families carved out a life, stand in the chambers where children learned to read by candlelight while bombs shook dust from the ceiling. But there's something even more mysterious hidden in Laos's ancient landscape, something that has archaeologists completely baffled. Look, if you're still watching but haven't subscribed yet, I have to ask, what are you waiting for? Every video I make takes weeks of research, and the algorithm only shows it to subscribers first. The people who miss out are the ones who thought they'd subscribe later. Don't be that person. Chapter 6. The 2,000 giant jars that science cannot explain. On the plain of jars, 2,000 massive stone vessels sit scattered across the landscape like artifacts from a lost civilization. Some stand 3.5 meters tall, weighing several tons. No one knows who made them, how they were transported, or why they're there. Were they wine containers for ancient victory celebrations? Water storage for the dry season? Burial urns for prehistoric funeral rites? Morning fog rolls across the mysterious plain where massive stone jars emerge from the earth like silent sentinels. Their creators vanished into history, their purpose lost to time. But the most unsettling part? Most areas remain unexplored because they're still littered with unexploded bombs. Researchers risk their lives just to study these ancient mysteries, never knowing if their next step might be their last. But even more disturbing than these unexplained relics is what's happening to Laos's natural wonders right now. Chapter 7. The Bottomless Lake Where Dragons Sleep. In Champasak Province, there's a lake that defies explanation. Nong Fa Lake's crystal-clear blue water reflects light like a natural mirror. But here's what makes scientists nervous. No one can measure its depth. Multiple research teams have tried. The equipment gives different readings every time. Locals believe it's bottomless, connected to an underground world where a giant dragon guards the depths. The water's surface remains perfectly still, like glass, while somewhere far below, currents move with ancient purpose that pressure sensors cannot fathom. Swimmers who venture to the center report sudden pressure changes that force them back to shore. The water temperature never fluctuates. There's no visible inflow or outflow.
It's as if the lake exists in its own dimension, following rules that modern science can't decode. But the most shocking thing about Laos isn't its mysteries. It's what this tiny country accomplished that made the entire world stand up and take notice. Chapter 8. The 500 Villagers Who Held Off an Empire. Here's a story that'll make your blood boil with respect. 500 Laos villagers, armed with nothing but spears and old rifles, held off 2,000 French Empire troops for an entire month. The Battle of Boulevan Plateau. The French called it impossible. How could a handful of farmers resist a modern colonial army? Mist rises from jungle valleys where ancestors once stood with bamboo spears against rifle regiments, their determination echoing through mountains that still remember the sound of resistance. The French finally won, but only after calling in 6,000 additional reinforcements. It took 8,000 professional soldiers to defeat 500 villagers who refused to surrender their homeland. During the Vietnam War, this spirit burned even brighter. Laos revolutionary forces recorded nearly 1,000 volunteers who were just 14 and 15 years old. Villages where 70-year-old women pounded rice and sewed uniforms for the front lines while their grandsons marched into battle. This is the soul of Laos, a people who've spent centuries proving that size doesn't matter when your cause is just. But their greatest victory isn't military. It's something far more beautiful and mysterious. Chapter 9. The 4,000 Islands Where Freshwater Dolphins Dance. In the Mekong River, there's an archipelago that shouldn't exist. Si Phandon, the 4,000 Islands, makes Laos the only landlocked country in the world with its own island paradise. Wooden boats drift between emerald islands where freshwater dolphins break the surface like liquid silver, their playful splashes the only sound in this floating sanctuary. Here, Irrawaddy dolphins, some of the rarest mammals on Earth, play in freshwater currents. You can kayak between islands, swim beneath waterfalls, and sleep in bamboo huts while the Mekong whispers ancient secrets. But from May to October, the mighty river reclaims half the land, flooding the islands in a cycle as old as the monsoons. It's paradise on borrowed time, reminding visitors that even the most beautiful things in Laos come with an edge of impermanence. Speaking of impermanence, there's one last secret about Laos that'll change how you see this entire country. Chapter 10. The Sticky Rice Conspiracy and What It Really Means. Every Laos person eats 171 kilograms of sticky rice per year, more than any other nation on Earth. But here's what the tourism boards don't tell you. This isn't just about food culture. It's about survival. Hands shape sticky rice into small portions while families gather around low tables, each grain representing resilience in a country that's learned to find richness in simplicity. Sticky rice doesn't require utensils. It travels well. It fills stomachs when there's nothing else. For a people who've spent generations hiding in caves, fleeing bombs, and rebuilding from nothing, sticky rice became more than food. It became identity. When everything else can be taken away, your home, your safety, your future, sticky rice remains. You can grow it in poor soil, prepare it with just water and fire, share it with empty hands and a full heart. This is Laos, a country that turns scarcity into abundance, bombs into determination, and isolation into paradise. The truth about Laos and why it matters to you. So here's what I want you to understand. Laos isn't just another budget travel destination. It's not just pretty temples and cheap beer. It's a country where 80 million bombs wait in schoolyards and rice fields, where the government controls love like a natural resource, where ancient mysteries remain unsolved and underground cities tell stories of unimaginable resilience. It's a place where your $500 monthly budget makes you wealthy. But the true richness comes from understanding the price these people have paid for the paradise you get to enjoy. Before you go, I need to know which fact about Laos shocked you the most. Drop it in the comments below. And if this investigation opened your eyes to a country you'd never really seen before, subscribe right now, because there are 194 other countries with stories just as incredible, and I'm going to tell you every single one. The people who subscribe today are the ones who'll see tomorrow's video first. The ones who don't, well, they'll just have to wait and wonder what they missed. The camera pulls back from Laos's golden temples and green mountains, leaving behind a country that's more complex, more beautiful, and more heartbreaking than any guidebook could ever capture.